Starting over in your 30s feels absolutely scary. You thought you'd have it all figured out by now. Your career, your relationship, your life. But here you are at square one. I know how this feels. I've been here. It's not a nice feeling. But I am going to tell you that it is not too late and you are not behind. Hey Royal Family, welcome to the front row with myself, Rowanna Mudley, where I talk about all things self-development. Today I'm going to give you an honest guide because I have been there and I know what it feels like to start over. There is hope to start over in your 30s with confidence and with purpose. Chapter 1. When do you need to start over? With me, and I know with you as well, there's been many crossroads in your life. And you'll always be met with a situation where you needed to start a new journey. And starting a new journey is sort of like starting over. But because it's a new journey, it doesn't feel like you're restarting everything, right? So it's a different concept. But there's some learnings to it. So I had to make new friends when I released friends that didn't serve me. I had to restart a lifestyle when I moved cities. I had to restart my career growth when I moved from broadcasting to marketing. I had to start over when I moved from living with my parents to not living with my parents. So whether it was starting a new journey or me starting over completely from scratch, there was a common thread that I found that when I was in the journey that I was in, I didn't feel aligned to what I was doing. And it didn't feel like it was purposeful. It didn't feel like it was the place I was supposed to be in. It didn't feel like it was my calling anymore. And it didn't feel aligned. When I was in bad jobs, I felt drained. I felt like I didn't really want to be in that space. When I was in the wrong relationships, I knew that I didn't want to be around those particular people. And I knew that I wasn't being the best version of myself when I was around those people. And so every time I felt misaligned, and every time I felt like, I don't think this is for me, that's when I knew that this is where the restart or the change takes place. So if you're constantly feeling drained, unhappy, and feeling out of alignment, then you know it's time to start over. Chapter 2, how to start over. I have 8 steps that I want to take you through that has helped me in every moment of my life whenever I needed to restart something. And step 1 is to reflect and write. I wrote down all the things that had happened to me. I wrote down all the things that were good for me, all the things that were not good for me. I wrote down the pros and the cons of what transpired. But most importantly, I wrote down my lessons from that experience, every single lesson. And I also wrote down everything that I had done wrong, that I could have done better. So in writing down my lessons, I wrote down 2 sides of the lessons. The lessons that I learned from those people and the lessons that I learned for myself in terms of what I should and shouldn't do. And I reflected on those lessons because there's been instances where I've started over, but I didn't take heed of the lessons that I learned. And I defaulted back to the old Rowanna. And so I was served with the same situation again until I learned the lesson and I could be rid of that kind of space that I was in. And the moment I chose to listen to the lesson and take heed of the lesson and not repeat the same behavior, that's when the universe showed me something else. And that's when I knew that I had grown from it. So I always like to write down what has happened, what has worked, what didn't work, what did I learn, because it's really important for me to reflect on that. And through my experiences, I've learned that, like, if I don't learn the lesson, I'm going to be served the same damn SHIT until I learn it. Whether it's in the work front, whether it's in a relationship, whether it is in the life front, I'm never going to be rid of it if I just don't learn the lesson. So I try very hard to do that. Obviously, I'm not perfect and I get served with some things over and over because I'm still learning my lessons and I'm still maybe not aware of certain things that I do. But I know that for the most part that I'm trying, and as long as I'm trying, I'm getting to a better place in my life. Then once I've written down everything, my step 2 is to seek guidance. I use prayer as my guidance because I feel safe when I pray. I feel like the answers come to me when I pray. I also meditate. I journal. I sit with my thoughts. I take long walks to understand where I'm at and where I want to be. And I find this very therapeutic because it allows me to really delve into what I truly want. Because if I'm going to take the next step, and if I'm at a crossroad and I'm confused, the prayer, the journaling, the meditation will always sort of make me understand what my purpose is and what I'm supposed to do. And then I'm learning also to listen more to that intuition and that inner voice that tells me, hey, Roanna, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Step 3, I then set my intention. What do I want to be? Who do I want to be when I'm doing this reset of my life or restart of my life? What do I want that to feel like? And what does this Roanna look like? What does she act like? What does she eat? How does she behave? How does she speak? I really want to get a clear picture of this person, even how she dresses or looks or feels. And if I'm absolutely honest with myself, I can really understand what the outcome needs to be in doing this restart. And more importantly, I want to know how I'm going to feel during the journey and when I've achieved what I need to achieve at the end of the journey. And then the next step is to define my true self. And in defining my true self, it's sort of like writing out a character in a book. You know, the personalities, the habits, the traits of this person. What do I want this person to be like? And in doing that, I take the lessons that I've learned in step 1 to make this persona. And I use my marketing skills to really just create a target market of who I truly feel I should be in this journey. And then my next step is to take the leap and trust. So what I mean by that is, you know, Steve Harvey wrote a book, Just Jump. So sometimes, or most times in life, you just have to take the plunge and do the damn thing and learn on the way. Often when I find I resist or I don't want to do something, I'll be shoved anyway. So if I just jump and learn through the process and trust and have faith that in jumping into this restart and doing what I need to do to restart and to build and to grow, and my intention has been set and the vision of myself is clearer, then I have nothing to fear because I can only but learn from this journey. And if I don't get to my destination in this round, I will get to my destination in the next round. And when I've taken that leap of trust, the next step is to act like the person that I have set out in my intention to be. So act like that person as if I've already achieved the goal that I'm striving to achieve, and I'm dressing like her, I'm talking like her, I'm acting like her, I'm behaving like her, I'm thinking like her, I'm using the lessons that I've learned and I'm behaving already in a different way that allows me to be a magnet for this thing that I'm trying to work over and journey through. I want to make sure that my energy is so aligned to the purposed person that I don't leave room for doubt and I don't leave room for the universe to be confused. Now, this is very difficult to do because I've experienced many situations where, you know, you can feel fed up, you can feel lost, you can feel like life is lifing you sometimes, or most times, because living on earth is not easy. And it is in those times that I have to force myself to behave like the person that has all of these things that I want to achieve. And that's where the real test comes in for me, I think. Because it's easy to say, oh, just act like the person that you want to be, just be positive and la la la. But when you're actually going through SHIT, it's very, very difficult to find the light and find the joy and find the happiness and find the alignment and all of those good things. It's easier said than done. And what I do is I pivot to just looking at the things that I have right now. And a simple thing like, I woke up this morning, I am breathing, I have food to eat, the sun is out today. It sounds like silly things, but when I start bringing myself more to the present times of what I'm grateful for, I then can force myself during hardships, especially, to then align myself to this person that's achieving and receiving and being this person that I'm supposed to be. Because when life is great, it's easy to be like, I'm aligned, I'm happy, I'm acting like the person that I want to be. That's easy because your emotions are not high strung. You're not in survival mode. But when you're in survival mode, your core purpose is to survive. Your Maslow hierarchy of needs is safety and security. And so everything else you're not really thinking about. So you can go into a negative space. In being grateful, I use that as a technique to force myself into a rhythmic flow that is able to attract and be in that vibrational energy of receiving better and manifesting. I don't think I've hit the nail on the head, but I think I'm closer than I was months ago, where I think if I keep on feeling with this good vibrational energy and everything is happening for my greater good and the stars are aligning for my greater purpose, and keep saying that to myself and honestly truly believing it within my core, then you start seeing some shifts in the right direction. And step number 7 is to be kind to yourself and kind to those around you, especially when you're starting over. Sometimes when you have to start over, there's bitterness. There's bitterness towards the people you're leaving behind, the circumstances you're leaving behind, and sometimes bitterness even towards yourself because you're so fed up of the fact that you need to start over. Maybe you don't feel motivated, maybe you're feeling so disappointed in yourself. And when you're unkind to yourself, you're not setting the right vibrational energy to receive what you need to receive, to learn what you need to learn, to grow and to be better and to overcome this phase of your life. The moment you pivot to being kind to yourself and kind to those around you is where the success comes in. And when you're kind to yourself, it's doing the things that give you happiness, taking time out to do the inner work, taking time out to get to know yourself better, talking to yourself with kindness, looking at yourself with kindness, treating yourself with kindness, talking to other people with kindness, thinking about people with kindness, acting towards people with kindness, especially those that have made you feel some type of way, that may have hurt you, etc. Because when you force yourself to be kind to those that have been unkind to you, it opens up something within your heart and you do start receiving more. And if it's very difficult for you to find the good in someone or to treat someone well, then what I have done is to take the person and then picture them in one of my Hindu deities' form. And it is damn difficult to do that because I've tried it. I've learned my whole life to see God in others, and I just don't know completely how to do that, especially with people that grate me the wrong way. But what has been working is if I take this person, especially if they've been horrible to me, and then I imagine them in the form of the most fierce deity that I pray to, and then I take it as them acting in that way to make me a better person and to test me and my faith. Somehow that has worked a little for me. Look, I've done it twice with 2 particular people and it has kind of worked. And then when I got to the next phase, I then forced myself to look at the things that they were good to me about. In one case, there were none. So I found good things that they just did in general. And then in the other case, I found like 2 things that they did that was good towards me. And that has, I think, opened my heart much more. And it has released a lot of toxins, because I think when you hold that grudge and animosity towards someone, you may not act on it, but if you keep it in your heart, that is draining. And you don't need that kind of poison in your life, because it's better to fill yourself up with love and joy and kindness than it is to bottle up animosity, anger, or hatred. Look, the truth is that we're human and it's very difficult to get past it, especially when you're starting over and you're letting go of really bad situations. So it is a work in progress. And what helps you a lot is to do the inner work. And that's why you got to follow the steps in detail and and really work on it consistently and with discipline, because it does take time. But the inner work is directly proportional to you finding that joy and finding it within yourself to be the bigger person, the person with the light, to one, forgive yourself and your enemy, but also to be kind to yourself and your enemy. So they can do whatever they want. It will not matter, because your purpose is higher and what you're striving for is higher. So they can throw sticks and stones and try to break your bones, but it will not phase you. And that's the kind of level we all want to get to. That level is very difficult to get to. I think only saints and sages and God realized souls have it down to a perfection. We are mere mortals, so we learn every day and we help each other every day. And I think we can remind each other every day that we can do it. I want to feed myself with more content that reminds me to be this person, so it helps me to be better as time goes on. And the final step is to do the inner work. So like I said, the inner work really ties into you being kind to yourself and to others. It ties into your reflection and learning from your mistakes. It ties into how you're going to move forward in life and how you're going to plan out your restart journey and what your intention is. And it also helps with acting like the person that you want to be, because that inner work is where all the answers are going to come for you to do the restart more efficiently and have effective results at the end of that journey, so you don't have to restart that particular section of your life again. Chapter 3: what starting over feels like. Starting over is different for everyone, and we all have a different way of approaching life. But I think the fundamental grounding is that knowing when you're starting over sometimes from nothing, sometimes from lessons, sometimes from experience, sometimes from hurt, sometimes from all four of those things. But when you're restarting, you're always starting from a sense of having the strength to do so, because it takes a person with immense strength and willpower and belief to start over. That's the first step. You're going to take that step, you're already on the road to success. Starting over is incredibly difficult, and it is extremely brave, and it is also extremely liberating. When you start over, it is going to be difficult. It is going to be challenging. And that is why doing the inner work, praying, journaling, meditating, being kind, all of these things are tools that you will use to understand whether you're doing the right thing or if you're on the right track. You will feel aligned. You will feel more at ease. As much as it is difficult to start over, you will feel in your heart that it is the right thing that you're doing and you are on the right track. Life is lighter, it's clearer, and there's relief that, you've chosen yourself. You might still feel scared, but it's a good kind of scare, because the test is in that period of going through it. At the end of the tunnel there is light, and there's that destination that you're working towards. And that destination gives you hope in knowing that you are growing and learning and just becoming a better version of yourself. You'll also start to notice that you'll be smiling in these quiet moments when you're sitting by yourself and you're just with your emotions. You'll smile, being proud of yourself that you took the plunge to restart. Because restarting, especially when you are in your 30s, is incredibly daunting, and it is an emotional roller coaster, and you could be judged by society, and you could be judged by family members and friends, and it can really take your ego for a test. But if you feel like this is what you want to do, go full steam ahead and don't let anyone stop you. Make sure you follow the steps of praying, setting the intention, learning from your lessons, so you don't repeat the cycle, being kind to yourself and doing the inner work. And the restart will be the most fundamental pivot you've ever done in your life. And this pivot is going to set the tone for who you are going to be in your adult life, for who you are going to be when you are in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s. And when you embrace it now in your 30s and you know how to handle it, because this is the most difficult time to do it, because you're in this in-between stage of you were 20 and you were trying to find yourself, and now you're in your 30s and you're like, shoot, I should be like adulting. But when you go into your 40s and 50s, you will be tackling life a little bit different. And so I'm not saying that you might not have to start over things in your 40s, 50s, or 60s. There might be instances where you might have to start over for certain aspects of your life. But when you do it then, because you're doing the work now and you're investing in this person that you want to be, being able to start over becomes exciting because it is something that's fresh. It's going to reinvent you, and you should be open to reinvention. You should be comfortable with change. You should be embracing things that help you to be a better human and a better person for yourself and for your well-being. I thank you so much for choosing the front row. If you liked this video, then you are definitely going to like this playlist under self-development. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Okay. Starting over in your 30s, starting over in your 30s, starting over